All right, so welcome back, guitar learners. Today we're going to take a deeper dive into some of my settings on the Helix Stadium and all of the patch pieces that I use. I'm pretty sure every single one of these is available in the original Helix because I actually ported over the same exact patch or preset that I use for every song, every Sunday. I've modified it pretty heavily from when I originally purchased it, but I've also heavily edited snapshots, and I'll toss up a picture of how I like my snapshots set up as well. And so, yeah, let's just dive in. So the question a watcher has asked about was my reverb and delay settings, because I like 3 or 4 repeats, and typically I can hear them better in my own ears than what really it can be heard out in the house. But I've never had any complaints about my delays, and I think the reverb, I like it to sound pretty wet. So in every song preset that I run, I always have 3 delay options available and 2 reverb options available. And all of these are in the original Helix as well as the Helix Stadium. So the main snapshot that I'm on right now is my clean ambient snapshot. And the only 2 things being run are this transistor tape delay, which is a dotted eighth. I leave that on a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot. And then this glitz reverb, which I leave on all the time. The only difference is when I get to higher gain stages of my snapshots, the parameters will change. So right now on this clean ambient tone, I have my decay up really high. But the moment that I go to a different snapshot, that decay is going to come down. There we go. We're at 4.5 there on stage 2 and stage 1. So that is set like per snapshot, so you can see that icon there. And then the mix changes just a little, not a ton, but it drops it down 3%. So I've just mixed it to taste where I like it. I tend to run it pretty, I would say pretty wet. But I like my trails on because if I switch to a different snapshot, I do want it to just kind of tail off naturally. The transistor tape delay, that dotted eighth, I don't see any per snapshot. No, so just my settings are there. The feedback's pretty high, but the mix is around 40%, and that's typically what I like to hear in my ears. And then headroom at +12 because I don't like the warble. So that kind of defeats the purpose of the transistor tape, I suppose. But that's just a taste. And then again, trails are on. So throughout the only thing that changes in my gain staging, is that reverb comes down a touch. But when I go to my big lead line, obviously my overdrives are changing and things, but my big lead line, that reverb goes right back up where it was before. Yep, both of those settings right back up. And then an extra delay turns on typically. I mean, I might change that depending on the song, but I do add another delay then, and it's a vintage digital. I have it set to quarter notes, feedback at 45%. You can see my settings there. Mix is 45%. It's just a little bit higher because of the fact that it's a lead, big kind of whale noise, some people call it. Scale is 100% because it has to do with the stereo. I typically play in mono at church. I do play and record in stereo at home, but I do like that scale at 100%. And then, interestingly enough, on this one, the headroom is not at +12. The trails are still on. Then if you're wondering, well, then what's this third delay? What's it even there for? Sometimes on my lead line, that is turned on, this 500 millisecond delay. But when I go to my Swells snapshot, that's when all of these things turn on. All 3 delays are on, and the 2 reverbs are on. So on this one, this vintage digital, it's actually set to 500 milliseconds. So it's not note based. Feedback is quite a bit higher. Mix is still 45%. Maybe the rates and depths have changed, and then the scale is different, so it is starting to kind of ping pong a little bit. And headroom is a little different. And then the second reverb that kicks on in my Swells snapshot is the searchlights. And so these are all settings just for when I play Swells. So that's what's in there. Again, all of those things are set to taste, so your mileage may vary. I play with a lot of Lambertones pickups, and so that's kind of the flavor that I'm getting out of my equipment. So hopefully this was helpful to you to get a peek at some of my workflow, and good luck out there, and I'll see you in the next one.